I've always said nothing looks as bad as a unmaintained black car, and nothing looks as good as a black car. And I think it's the latter that still baits people into purchasing black cars. And in my detailing business, every time I see a black car that comes with sentiments from the owner of like, I know I probably shouldn't have, but I couldn't resist how shiny that black car was. And now I'm at JIMBO's Detailing because I need help maintaining this black car. What are the best practices? How can I make sure that this car looks as good as possible for as long as possible? This is my first black car. I had a black car a long time ago and I hated it, but I just, again, couldn't resist. It was in the showroom and I couldn't see it. So in this video, what we're going to talk about is some unique challenges of black cars, the best practices for washing and maintaining it, which is the process that scratches the car the most, and then give you some product recommendations of how you can easily maintain that showroom shine that made you fall in love with the car in the first place. So as soon as that starts to go, you're probably off to selling that car. So let's get into it, talk about why black cars are so difficult to maintain and why they get so unsightly so quickly. And the main reason is pretty obvious. It tends to show every imperfection, all the dust, fingerprints, scratches, swirl marks, spider webbing, and they show absolutely everything. And the issue is that it reflects the light. And so the light is bouncing off that black surface and almost creating a mirror-like effect. But in between is you're seeing all the junk, all the fingerprints that your kids put on the back door when they close it, all the fingerprints you put on the door when you close the door, all those, they call them spider webbing, all the scratches, everything. And the black also absorbs the heat easier and more of it, right? So not only is your car going to be hotter inside, but it also speeds up the oxidation process. If you put any waxes or sealants on the car, those break down quicker because the black paint is absorbing all the heat. It's taking all the heat in. And when you use things like natural waxes to protect it, think Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off, that natural wax breaks down just to heat. So something that doesn't get talked about a lot, but that you have to be very aware of when you do own a black car, is the protection on that car, because the nature of the black and it absorbing the heat from the sun, any protection you put on that car will break down faster. Now, with a black car, you're also going to wash the car or want to wash the car more often, but every time you wash the car, you run the risk of scratching the paint. Right? So now you have this double-edged sword of your protection breaks down faster. When you wash it, you're going to get water spots quicker and more easier if you don't use something like a deionized water system. And so it can really poo-poo on your black car parade. That once nice shiny car was inside the showroom for a reason. They can control the lighting, they can control the heat, they can control hiding imperfections in the paint, and obviously it makes it look good. Like I said in the beginning, nothing looks better than a black, clean car. So what do you do about this? And I have this discussion all the time with my customers. What do I do? I'm here at your detailing shop to see how I can, get set up on the best foot, and then how do I maintain this? How do I make it look good longer, right? So there's a lot of information on 2-bucket methods on the internet, making sure that you have multiple buckets and a rinse bucket and a soap bucket and different types of car wash soaps, and making sure they offer a good lubricity and all these. It's a very, very confusing thing, but there are two main things that you need to know. Car washes that have brushes in the tunnel are not good. Those brushes will scratch your black car to no end. It will also strip away, in most cases, if not the first time, after continuous use, will strip away any paint protection that you have on the car. So making sure, at minimum, you have a foundational layer of protection on the car will help maintain the look and appearance of the car. Think of that as an additional clear coat on top of your clear coat. So you don't want to scratch the clear coat beneath. you want to make sure there is something on top of it protecting it. Now, there's many ways that you can do this. Some I've already mentioned. You have the Mr. Miyagi wax on, wax off, kind of the old school waxes. You have the newer school spray sealant, spray ceramic coatings, wipe on ceramic coatings. You have paint protection film. There's lots of different ways that you can protect the paint. The best or the most resistant would be the paint protection film, the clear bra, right? However, that does come with a whole host of additional issues down the line. There's a lifespan to those things. They are incredibly expensive, can upwards cost more than just repainting the whole entire car. So that is something that comes into consideration when you look at applying paint protection film. My sweet spot that I think is to get a wipe-on ceramic coating, a true ceramic coating applied by either a professional detailer, or get one that is DIY friendly that you really can't mess up. Something like JIMBO's The Gloss Boss, which I will link below, is a very user-friendly ceramic coating that is very difficult to mess up, but offers extreme chemical resistance. It's going to offer that extreme heat resistance on the paintwork from the sun, especially for a black car. It's going to make the water bead very nicely, call that being hydrophobic. And it's very, very important to have that base layer of protection on your car. So I'll link all the products that I recommend below. You're going to want to wash your car often. Here's where I don't like the 2-bucket method, is that you're still touching the surface of the car. So like I said, the first thing was you want to stay away from car washes that have brushes, because those brushes will not only strip the protection on your car, but will also create new scratches. But then you say, how do I wash my car? Well, you want to get a car wash soap that you don't have to touch the surface of the car. So a major point that I talk to all my customers about is you want to touch, if you own a black car, you want to touch the paint as little as possible. Now, this becomes hard because the black car shows dirt more often. So a black car showing more dirt means you want to clean it more often, which is fine. But the problem when you clean it more often is that you're touching it more often. So then you run the risk of scratching it. And you can begin to see how difficult and laborious this process can be if you have a finicky eye and you don't want to see all that. So there's a few ways to mitigate this, and I think this is why we are seeing the rise of touchless washes. There are waterless washes that claim to be safe. I'm not a real big fan of those anymore. I've done thousands and thousands of cars as a rinseless wash. I just think they're more labor intensive. And as we begin to see the rise of more touchless car wash soaps that you could just foam onto the surface of the car, let the foam do the majority of the work, and then simply rinse it away. This does require having a pressure washer, having a foam cannon. But what I like to do personally is I like to have liquids and chemicals do the majority of the work for me. And so I don't have to labor so hard. And that's why one of the reasons why I don't really love rinseless washes or waterless washes is because they are very labor intensive. And so I like to have something that is, the chemical can do the work for me. The problem with some of these touchless washes, again, give and take in the detailing industry is a real thing. Some of these washes are very low or high pH. So we tend to always go for a pH neutral soap solution. But traditionally, a pH neutral, around 8 on the scale, is not going to have very good cleaning ability. It's just going to be very slick on the surface. So when you go to touch it with something like your 2-bucket wash method, it'll be much easier to glide that mitt on the surface. But again, you're touching the surface. So I will link my favorite touchless car wash soap solution below in the description. That is a pH neutral and has really good cleaning ability. Because another thing that you need to be careful of with these touchless soaps is the higher or lower the pH is, specifically higher the pH is, it will degrade that paint protection that you have on the car. That's why I like to start with a wipe-on ceramic coating. use a touchless car wash soap that I could just foam onto the car and rinse away. I could do this often if it's pH neutral or just slightly above pH. I could do this a couple times a week and it'll be totally fine with being safe in regard to the ceramic coating. And then again, you want to maintain that or put something on top of that, like a ceramic spray, while you're drying the car. And that's what we will get into here in a second. But again, if you're going to have to touch the car to wash it, you want to make sure that you're washing from the top to the bottom in straight lines, and you're trying to touch it as little as possible. So as little as possible is the name of the game. And if you do have to touch it, if it's wintertime or something like that, you're going to want to just use a very slippery, slick soap. And again, I will put mine that I recommend below. So with that, when it comes to drying the car, what you're going to want to do is, again, lubricity is the name of the game. So having a slick surface is not only going to keep your black car cleaner for longer, but it's also going to make it easier to clean when it is time to clean it, and is going to make it safer. So think about if the surface is super sticky or not slick at all, the chances of your towel getting stuck and scratching it is going to be much higher. So you want to keep the surface as slick as possible. So while you're drying the car, what I recommend is having some sort of aid to help you keep that surface very slick while your towel is gliding across it. My favorite is to use a ceramic spray. Again, I will link my favorite one below. This is not a sales tactic. This is supposed to be helpful information for those of you that are looking for a no BS way to clean and maintain your black car to keep it looking good forever. So anything will do in this, any sprayable product will do. How about that? In this step. So ideally you have a ceramic coating already on the surface. You've dried it with a touchless soap, so you haven't had to touch the surface at all, but now you need to dry the vehicle. Ideally you would have deionized water and you wouldn't have to touch it at all. But if you don't have deionized water, what I would do is I would look for some sort of paint or sprayable paint protectant. So this could be anything from a simple spray wax to a spray sealant to a spray coating. What I look for in products like this is something that's not going to streak. A black car, a big problem that you have to worry about is products streaking on the surface. So a product that doesn't streak will, again, help you to not have to go back and touch the car or wipe the car down more. Again, this is of severe importance, especially with a black car, because the more you touch it, the higher chance you have to scratch the surface of the car. So we don't want to do that. So you want a product that does not streak as you're drying it. It's just adding some lubricity to the paint, and it's giving you a little added gloss, little added paint protection, and all that stuff. So those are kind of the 3 steps and the 3 tips that I use to really, maintain a black color car and prevent scratches from happening. Now, it is inevitable, even taking, if you have a really keen eye, taking your time and really focusing on the wash process, it is inevitable that you will have some scratches start to show through, some spider webbing. It is just inevitable, and you could see it more on black cars, even though you're taking extra special care with your black car. So when it is time and you feel like you need to do a little paint polishing on this black car, there are a few products I recommend that I think work the best. And the liquid you're going to want is 3D1. There is a nice aggressive compound without being too aggressive, and maybe I'll do a part 2 of talking about just paint correcting black cars and using stuff like DA buffers and polishing pads, and my favorite across the board on that. That'll have to be a whole separate podcast episode. In this video, in this episode, what I wanted to talk about is just my 3 top tips of how to maintain black cars and preventing the scratches and keeping it very simple. It's another thing I try to tell my clients. I want this as simple as possible for you, as easy as possible for you. And with the products that I mentioned and that I will link below, I think, and in my experience as a professional detailer for, 16 plus years now, those are the products I recommend, and I will link them all below. But if you have a black car, Good luck to you, and it'll probably and hopefully be your last black car. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. Please leave a comment below and let me know your favorite products to maintain black cars and how you don't scratch your car while washing it and maintaining it and have that finish looking perfect. I'd love to hear and have a helpful discussion in the comments below. And with that, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching and listening.